Hello, I am Scott Herbst. I am founder and president of Six Flex Training and Consulting, and you are watching or listening to The Flex, a podcast where we have conversations with people who are expressing leadership with the intention of making that available for you. Today on our show, I'm really pleased to be able to introduce you to Stephanie Emmons. Stephanie is the Chief Executive Officer of Trevor's Place. They are a company that provides services to kids with autism in Central Texas. As usual, I'm going to keep the introduction brief so that you can really hear Stephanie's story from Stephanie. Stephanie, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Hi, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on your show and your training.
My pleasure. And as I always start here, I would just love to hear your story. You can go back as far as you like, but what got you into the field, and especially what had you take the leap to found your company?
Yeah. So actually, I kind of go back a far, far way, like maybe when I was 6 or 7. I was definitely, I know, the little girl that played school, right? I had a transparency machine, I had Visa V pens. I
An
kind of
actual
always,
transparency machine.
I did.
That's awesome.
Now, my friends didn't like it so much because, I was like, let's do this math problem and let's do spelling bees. So they weren't as thrilled as I was, of course, but I've always had just that passion for learning and instructing and helping others. And so it wasn't necessarily house, but definitely playing school. And that's kind of where I started. Lots of volunteer work when I was in high school and college. So just that bleeding heart and that
So
servant
you
leadership.
always had a passion for education.
Yes,
Yes.
always, always, always. Um, so kind of ventured out, thought I was going to become a doctor. Definitely changed my major real quick in my undergrad, and decided to become a teacher. I was like, might as well just continue on in that path. I started in special education. That's kind of where I did all of my teaching in PPCD classrooms. So working with kiddos 3 to 5, resource classrooms. I loved it. So that passion continued. I thought I wanted to become a principal. I thought that was kind of like the next step. I could help more people. I wanted to be able to branch out and just, just more than my classroom. Not that I didn't love my classroom, but where else could I make an impact? Went to school, got my principal certification, very much decided that's not what I wanted to do either. The politics was a little too much for me. I just really wanted to help. So during the time that I was in school to become an educator, I had my son. I was actually pretty young. I was 22, and didn't know it at the time, but he was going to have some diagnoses that I would have to learn to work through as a young mom, still kind of in school. And so he came and he was the light of my life, right? Like the person who was going to just teach me all the things in the world, as far as compassion and empathy and hard work and determination. Like he was going to be it. So I had him. He was born with something called lissencephaly. It's a brain cell migration disorder. So he needed lots of assistance, lots of resources, things I didn't know existed, doctors I didn't know existed. We were in appointments all the time. Just pretty hard stuff for being, 22 and wrapping up school and trying to work. So 2 years later, I had my daughter,
And
and
he
she
was
was,
diagnosed with that as an infant.
yes, he was diagnosed with that from birth. They could kind of see something was going on. We did
Yeah.
lots of tests, but we were never really going to know until he was born.
Yeah.
Um, so with that came seizures, and those kind of came later on in life. And then, of course, the diagnosis of autism. So he was in everything: speech, OT, PT, eventually ABA. He was in play therapy. We were just kind of learning as a young family how to navigate that. My daughter was born 2 years later, and like I mentioned, she is the light, right? She's the one who kind of leads the way and was just the really, really, really strong one in the family. And so I admire her for that. She's always been the big little sister. So I say all this because They are my passion for what I do now, right? I've lived it. I've been there. I've done that. I've struggled. I've cried. I've been lost. I've had it all as the parent. Um, so as we were navigating through these resources at that time, I, of course, found ABA, and I was like, this is amazing. I love the way that you're working on this. It makes sense to me. I had someone kind of coaching me in the classroom at that point in time when I was a teacher. And so I was like, well, I guess this is my next step. So I worked, went back to school, of course, and became a BCBA. So that led me into working for other people, other clinics. Um, it was still, I guess, fairly new. I mean, I'm kind of 15 years into the practice at this point in time. Not a lot of people had clinics, knew what was going on kind of in this field, not a lot of programs out there. So we were kind of all learning together, which was really great, right? We set up a network of people that could work together and learn together. But not many clinics. So worked for a couple and decided that I wanted to do things differently. Not that there was anything crazy going on, just I wanted to be able to lead in a way that the passion from being the parent, having to do it on my own, leaning into the people around me, I wanted to create something different. And truly, I say it as a legacy for my kiddos, for my family, so they can see that we've been through it and we're here for you, and that's what we want to do, support you.
What was it that I mean, you can, maybe it was a few things, but what was it you wanted to do differently?
I wanted kind of what I was speaking on. I wanted to be able to truly, truly take the passion and compassion that we had from being in those exact positions, right? I know there's tons of practitioners that may not have a kiddo with special needs, and it doesn't mean they're not completely amazing, right? But I I've lived it, and I wanted to be able to coach in a way that, okay, maybe this goal didn't work, but have you tried this one? And not because it's the next thing in the assessment, but because I see it every day in real life. Like we make an impact every day in real life. And the time you have with these kiddos is sacred. And just coming from that background, that's just the way I wanted to formulate the clinic and to have people understand that I'm not just here as like a business owner. I'm a parent. I am someone who has been there, and I want you to understand why it's so important.
Got it. I think, well, let me check, see if I got it. It sounds like what you saw is missing was a real focus on the experience of the parents and the families,
Yes.
and wanted to create a place where that was very centered, and not
Yep.
just like treating a kid, but actually like being there for the families.
Yes. Yep. Kind of the whole unit, the whole family unit. Um, I know, just like I'd spoken on, so Maddie is my daughter. Without her, we would not be in the same place. Without all the therapists that helped Trevor, the occupational therapist, the speech therapist, the water aerobics, the, fitness trainer, without all these people, right? This community that we built to surround the family, he wouldn't be where he is today. Um, One really crazy thing is whenever he was born with lissencephaly, they actually didn't even give him the time of day. They're like, these kiddos, you're looking at 2, 3 years, like max. Like that was the reality of what I was dealing with as a 22-year-old. Just because there wasn't a lot of
And the
information on it.
prognosis was that he's going to live 2 or 3 years.
Yes.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah. So again, very scary at that age. And that's why I was drowning at that point in time. And that is nothing I want for our families now. So that was a big player in kind of moving to where we are today. And he's 20 today. He lives at home. He goes to a vocational program and he loves it. But without that community, we would not be here. He would not be where he is. And that's what I want, like staff or people that I work with, that's what I want them to see and feel. Is like you make a difference, right? Like I don't want it to just be words. I want them to know and see.
Yeah. I'd love to talk a little bit more about that because I know it's one thing to see something is missing in service, and then there's the actual creation of that. And so I'm curious what that was like, what the challenges have been, what you've learned about having a vision and then actually taking it and then moving towards it over time.
Yeah. So again, it was fairly new when I started. So you have all the same issues, right? Like you're getting into insurance, you are training new people, you're working with fieldwork experience trainees, is kind of what we call them. We thrived on bringing in new RBTs and new people that were working towards their BCBA. It didn't initially, that wasn't going to be a focus, but what we saw is those who came in green, they had that love, they had that passion. They're like, we just found this, kind of like I did. We just found this and this is great.
Yeah.
Um, we we thrived on that. We wanted them to come into the clinic. We wanted them to use all that excitement to learn the field, to be excited to be there for the kiddos, to be excited to be there for the families. And then all of that, of course, was cultured by, training and good supervisors. One thing I've always lived by, still to this day, is surrounding myself with people that are smarter than me, right? Like I can have the passion, but maybe I don't have this certain skill set, or maybe you can do this much better than I can. So that was a big focus in the beginning as well. So bringing in a good mixture of those who just had the raw passion and they wanted it and they wanted to help, and then those who could do things I couldn't do. And that was really how it all started, was bringing that team together.
Can we dig into this a little bit? Because I suspect I really am listening for what can we offer to anyone, maybe someone who's just coming into the field, someone who's starting to build their team, someone who I mean, it really is like anywhere in leadership, not just founding a company. Um, and I got to imagine that, finding out and um well, not just finding out, you said Trevor's the light of my life, and um but being met with from the medical community, well, there's not a lot we can do. And typically what happens is that, in couple years, he's gonna die. Um, and so I'm wondering what that was like for you and what it took to, in the face of that, just like resignation, I would call it, right? Um,
Yes.
to say, no, um, this is not, I'm not going to let it go that way, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to start there and then see how that translates to really inspiring and motivating and fanning the flame of that passion with like new people.
Mhm.
So I want to try to connect some dots if we can. I mean, you might have be like, I don't know.
um, yes, I definitely was, and I guess it's part of my nature before too, as far as being a helper and a go-getter. I never really back down in the face of adversity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a risk taker. Things like that don't scare me. Always been that way.
Yeah.
Um, so when he was born, it was probably like the second thing in my head was, I don't know what you're talking about because that's not going to happen here. And even at that young of age, that's exactly how I felt. It was, it's just that automatic connection that you have, and I was like, you talking about myself, you have something to learn from this. He is going to be your guide and teacher. And we're going to get through this as a family, and we're going to just take steps and we're going to learn and we're going to do it day by day. And that's why I continue to bring in Maddie, because they were very much like, we don't know the extent of what's going to happen with Trevor. Maybe you shouldn't have another kid. Like that's just basically how it was, right? And she came
Yeah,
along, she's neurotypical. And that is how we worked day in and day out. We went to geneticists, we went to oncology. I mean, we've been through the gamut, but it was very much a decision from day one that I don't really care what you have to say. We're gonna be the medical miracle. This is we're going to work and we're just going to work really, really hard. So we knew there wasn't a quick fix. There wasn't ever going to be a fix per se. It was going to
right.
be what can we do to learn from each other and make the most of the life and experiences that we're going to have. And that's really where it started, and that's really where it's always been. He works hard every day. We work hard every day, and that's he's the one who pushes all of that, right? Determination. It's why I don't give up if something's difficult, or why we're going to continue to help kiddos and families, and why that's so important, because that's really just where we were. And there was just never going to be an opportunity, right? We were 5 days a week, 4 hours a day. We were in therapy. That's hard on the finances. There was just things you had to work through.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
but
can I
without
want to
that,
underline something because you said it twice. And it sounds like you naturally gravitate towards what you're saying. And I don't think everyone does. I'm
Mhm,
someone who has a first thought and tends to it's taken work for me not to get stopped by my thoughts
mhm,
of like, oh, it's gonna be like someone says something on my first reaction is uh-oh, right? Um, but the question you mentioned a couple times was maybe not even a question, but a statement, but like, okay, we're gonna learn from this. And what can we learn? And how do we learn? And and I can just hear that through that attitude kind of kept you going. And and in that it sounds like, correct me, but there was always a okay, what's next? Okay, what like okay, we learned something here. Like, okay, what do we learn next?
mhm.
Um,
Yep.
awesome. I think that piece is something that I would want our listeners to take away as like a really great question when you get stopped to ask yourself, okay, what can I learn? What can I learn?
Mhm.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like that part of servant leadership and being in the field we're in, you're looking at humanity, right? Like that is what we do. We help people, we help kids, we help families, and we don't want to just get stuck in that, right? Like we don't you don't want to just do one thing and you're like, okay, I'm all done, or I wash my hands of it, or I'm pretty content. There's so much, world to see, so many experiences to have, so many people to help, but it was just never a question to just stop. It was always going to be, no matter how hard it was we're going to continue on.
Awesome. And then let's talk a little bit more, if you're open to it, about how you inspire and fan the embers of passion with your team.
Yeah. We actually just started this new thing actually this week, and it's called Date with Leadership. And it kind of sounds a little funny, but we know we have a hard job, right? The
Yes.
RBTs, the supervisors, everyone, our families and kiddos come in and they're working really hard. And so we try to enjoy all the small bits and days. But it can be overwhelming. And so part of what I talk about, if I could lead my team, or what I would love for my team to really hone in on in the next year, is that humanity piece, that so and so may have a crisis going on at home, and someone else may have a different crisis. And I want us to all be a community, kind of under one roof, that we're there to support each other, that we are there to be there with these kiddos. And so we started this Date with Leadership, because we're all about connection, right? Without connection, there's no community. And I think we've lost a lot of that. Just the world the way it is, the technologies, all the things you can blame it on, right? We want connection. We're human, and we want to be there. We want to understand each other. So on this date with leadership. It's myself and HR or someone else is picked to come. We'll come and we go away from the clinic and we're just going to have breakfast or have a coffee, whatever they enjoy in the morning. And that's going to be our time to re-engage with our supervisors or with whoever we take on that date as a person and see where they are and understand where they are. And we're really hoping that that kind of they can come back a little bit more renewed for that day, but we have a better understanding as a team on where everyone is, right? Because that's our goal with our kiddos and our families. Why not do it with our staff? Is to meet them where they are. And I think that's going to really help us kind of get through the hard days that you face when you're there. Because again, the passion is the kids, right? If our staff's not taking care of our kids, it's going to be really hard to be taken care of. And they're the ultimate goal at the end of the day. So right now, that's kind of our new thing that we're going to try to see if we can feel those embers a little bit and rekindle some of that passion, even after they've been in the field for 9, 10, 11, 12 months, whenever they're getting tired.
Yeah. What did you see that, what was it that had you say there's a need for that? What did you observe?
So been in the field a long time. So we've seen a lot, but I'd have to say post-COVID, whether it was a COVID blame or not, everyone just kind of came into themselves, right? There wasn't as much community and kind of had to for COVID for a while. And then people started
Yeah.
working from home and they just weren't creating those connections. And now that everyone's being forced kind of back into the community and having to get back out there and not being able to just be behind a computer and having real conversations, it just started to seem really hard. And people were internalizing issues and not wanting to lean into their support system. And I have a bunch of favorite words, but leaning in is definitely one for me. 2 words, I guess.
What does that mean
Um,
to
for me, I
you?
think
Yeah.
it means something different for everyone. For me, it's a couple folds. So one, I lean into my faith. I've had, obstacles, bumps in the road, hard things. So I lean into my faith as far as giving it away and not holding on to some of the pains and pressures that can come because I have to give my energy elsewhere. I can't afford to give negative energy to myself or to problems. The other one is leaning into my support system. And so that could be family, it could be friends, it could be people I work with. But what I saw is nobody was leaning in, right? At least not at work. Maybe they were at home, maybe they have their faith or they have an outside system, but
Yeah.
we weren't seeing it in the clinic as much. And that I don't know how you can come to work and not have that connection and work really hard, with these kids all day long. It's hard and they're exhausted and they're tired. So if we work together to lean in to our community and I need your help and not be afraid to ask for help, or be able to have open communication, I think it's just going to make our days so much better and so much lighter. And you know that you are able to count on the person next to you.
Yeah.
So
I think I got it. So when you're talking about leaning in, you're talking about where do you go to make sure that you're nurtured and
yes.
rejuvenated and
Hmm.
supported.
Yep.
And you're pretty clear, like for me, it's my faith, it's my community, it's my support network, my family.
Hmm.
What you observed missing was that, like, people don't necessarily have a clear place where they can, I like to use the term, like, where are you getting your water, right? Like everyone needs an
Yep.
oasis, so you could see that they didn't have that, or that there's a missing, and maybe it's
Hmm.
there, but like you're actually looking for, all right, whatever they have and whatever they've created for themselves outside of work, what can I create within the work environment to make sure that they are getting that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we could see it kind of in the clinic, but maybe they were having a rough day and they would come communicate with leadership and you're just like your mouth drops, right? Like you have no idea that they were going through something like that personally, at least
Yeah.
to that extent. And so we've just been over the last year hearing more and more stories like that of just personal struggles, maybe, or something's just not going right. And we wanted to be there, not not because we can fix it necessarily, but it's okay to have hard times and to come and talk to us about it. And then we have an understanding of how we can at least try in this environment to help you. And so things like the date with leadership or just those open communication and truly having an open door policy is about that connection and that trying to allow them to lean into us if they choose. That's what we're there for.
Yeah, got it. So part of how you maintain that passion, or at least try to inspire it in others, is making sure that they've got a place they can connect that really nurtures that.
Yeah. Yes,
Awesome.
exactly.
Um, we are we're getting to a point where maybe it's time to talk about like the future and what's next for your company.
Yeah. Well, kind of some exciting things, not just for Trevor's Place, but kind of where I'm headed with certain aspects of ABA in the field. So we're in a military community. We have two locations open right now, and we're pretty happy with where we are as far as those locations. Where we have a military background, so kind of being in this area is really where we focus, and we love our families. And again, I'll mention sacred a couple times. We just know how important the little bit of time that we have with our kiddos and families is important. So our kind of next steps, beyond just the clinics, is trying to get back out in the community. I've probably said that 100 times, but ensuring that there's resources out there or there's information for parents to find. That way, again, they don't go through what I went through a long time ago.
Yeah.
Um, that's a big part of what we're working with now, whether it's talking to other providers or talking to other daycares or schools or anything like that, just really getting back out there and offering even training for them, free of charge, of course, but just a way for them to see that there's other things out there that can help. So that's going to kind of be a focus for the clinics and for Trevor's Place itself, at this point in time. But just taking my passion further, I have been working for 3 years on a ABA practice management and data collection software. And so that is going to kind of be a new focus of where I'm headed, kind of with in conjunction with Trevor's Place. So that's going to be really exciting.
Awesome. And any concerns, any I guess I want to ask like what's worrying you, what's challenging you, what challenge do you see personally in terms of where you're headed next, and how are you leaning into it?
Yeah, yes. Whew, a lot actually. So Trevor's 20, he's in his final stages of the vocational program. And I'm kind of at a loss, right? Like I was hoping I'd be far enough in clinics that maybe we could be working on adult programming. There's not a lot around this area. And so that is going to be a huge hurdle for us, an obstacle of um, where do we go for those next resources that I don't know about yet? I know there's
Yeah.
some in, bigger cities, Austin, little far away from where we are. But that's going to be a hurdle for myself and for the family coming up here in a little bit. Maddie left for college over the weekend, and she's been, a constant in this family, and that relationship that she has with Trevor has been amazing. So that's going to be a big shift. So lots of big life hurdles. And as far as the leaning in, it's going to be the same that I've always had. It's going to be leaning into the clinics because that makes me happy. Going in and seeing the work that's being done is just what I love, and just continuing to work on these other things, leaning into my family, and of course my faith will those will stay true and help me along for sure.
Awesome. I just want to underscore a couple things that I've really heard. One is I'm gonna say it a little. We talked about the question like what can I learn, but I just hear that you personally are very clear on what inspires and motivates you, and um and so anyone listening, I would say that take some time and do that work. And
Yes.
if it's not immediately obvious to you, get some support in getting clear on, well, what is it that I really care about and what really does inspire me? Because I could hear that, like, the work you're doing just inspires you, and it's obvious, and making a difference and contributing to others really inspires you, right? Like, okay, I want people to be empowered when their kids get a diagnosis, and to have pathways and know what to do. And I don't know, am I adding anything to what you said?
No, I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
And that's
uh,
definitely the way I've operated, and definitely kind of I agree. Like any leader, right? Whenever you're finding out what your passion is, or how you make an impact, that's where you have to come from, right? Like deep down inside, what makes you happy? Like beyond coffee, what gets you out of bed in the morning, you know?
yes. um so I think that's the big takeaway that I just really want people to leave with, is get clear on what you care about, and then just stay connected to that.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And it has to be intentional. I mean, some days you're gonna veer, right? It's gonna be hard for you to get back on track. But if you stay intentional in that passion and what you're going for, nothing's gonna stop you. Really. Like you're gonna keep learning, you're gonna keep moving. Because that's that internal flame. So yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. I have a feeling you've shared it, but I always ask this question towards the end. What are you proud of?
Um, Not to sound corny, um, I'm proud of the work that
Morning, yeah.
all of our kiddos and our families do. Like truly, like you go into the clinic and you see them talking, and maybe giving you a hug or something that they never would have done, or nothing you've seen before, and it's it's just it's the best. And so I'm so proud of the work that they do every day, because it's hard. Like we take for granted a lot of things that come easy for us. And so when I lean into just the clinic and see that, it's nothing makes me happier than to see that kind of work and that kind of progress. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the kids. I'm proud of Trevor. I'm proud of our staff for the work that they do. And then that's truly how I feel.
Awesome. I love it. And then my last question for you is, if people would like to, how can they reach out to you?
Oh yeah. So I don't have a ton of social media, but email is great. So it's just Stephanie@trevorsplace.net.
Awesome. And you're also on LinkedIn, yes?
Yes, they can find me there.
Perfect. And you've got a company page there as well.
Yes, yes.
Awesome. Stephanie Emmons, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us
Of
and
course.
share your story and your insights and your passion. It has been an absolute delight.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I love sharing our story, and hopefully it inspires others to share theirs, or, find their flame. And yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. And to our listeners, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. As always, give us a like, give us a follow, and we will see you back here at the next episode of The Flex.